Hi there. Welcome to Infinite Stories. This is the podcast where we sit down and interview everyday people just like you and me. This is your host, Mitchell Vine, and boy, do we have an incredible story for you. Let's jump into this week's interview.
So, why don't you tell me who you are and let's talk about where you grew up. What was it like being a kid for you?
Okay. I'm aliese halcomb. I grew up in South Carolina, right on the border of Georgia, so kind of where in both states a lot. It was a small country town where we lived in a neighborhood and wandered around with other kids. You know, it was really before the internet, which is a crazy thing to think, but it was. But it was good. It was really good.
Do you have any key memories of growing up? I mean, I wish I grew up without the internet as a kid, honestly. So, what was it like?
My best friend lived right up the street, and so we would literally get off the school bus, go to our houses, drop off our stuff, and then meet back up. And we would just, it sounds super boring, we would just walk back and forth between our houses, which is crazy. We would just go to my house and we'd hang out, and then we'd go to her house and we'd hang out. And then there was a family that lived in the middle, older couple, and we hung out in their trees, climbing their trees. So I do really remember that. In the woods near our house, this is very weird, and I don't know who did it, they dropped off all of these cement pallet, blocks, giant cement in the woods where we were probably not supposed to be there, but we went back there all the time and climbed all over this, and like I'm telling you, the backwoods place, right? And so it was great. We had such a good time, and I have brothers and a sister, and we all kind of just wandered all around this neighborhood.
And you never got bored of it? You were like, man, this is the best thing ever. We get to do this all the time.
I'm sure we got bored, but I mean, at that point, you didn't really know that much different. I lived in the time when AOL was sending discs to your house. And so I remember learning about the internet when I was probably in middle school. And it was just becoming a thing, but we didn't know anything different. You know, this is what we did. That's what we did. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, kind of moving a little bit farther along in the story, can you think back in your childhood to the first time you encountered sin for the first time? Do you have any memories of I know what is wrong because that's it?
Oh, there's a long pause. I'm trying to think of something that happened early. I remember getting in trouble for something that I didn't know was wrong. I didn't. My friend and I, who just wandered around, we went to all of these houses that didn't have residents, and we took the mail out of them. You know, that's a federal offense. We straight up stole mail. And I guess that's technically, maybe that's not a sin, that's just a weird story, but we got in a lot of trouble by our parents, and so I guess if we would have done it again, it would have been a sin, but an interesting anecdote. Gosh, I'm trying to think about it. There were lots of things, I guess, little things that kids do. I don't have a unique memory, I don't think.
I mean, that's a pretty unique memory. No, I mean, I never experienced anything like that. To hear that from you, I'm like, wow, I can picture that so clearly. Because I can think of, I would do the same thing. I mean, I would be curious what other people are getting in their mail. Yeah, how was I supposed to know that's wrong?
Yeah, so, I don't know, it's nuts.
That's awesome. I don't mean to laugh so hard, but the picture is so clear in my head of just watching you and your friends just go from house to house ooh, mail, ooh, mail.
Which is so much. It's ridiculous. We had a black garbage bag full of mail. It's nuts.
Did you put it all back? What?
I don't remember. Maybe my mom did, because I remember getting in a lot of trouble from her and being told, this is a crime. I don't remember putting it back, but I would imagine my mom did. Yeah.
And now I have the clear picture of your mom walking around with a trash bag full of mail, trying to put everything back in the right place. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, kind of looking back, still near the beginning of your story, and maybe even tiptoeing into grade school, middle school, high school, were there any teachers or mentors or guides that kind of helped guide you along in your story at all?
Yeah, I would say so. We had the same bus driver like the whole time because I lived in the same house my entire childhood, and she was just always super kind. I mean, she was also very strict, but she was very kind and loved us well, like the way that adults should love kids, you know? And I just have a good memory of her. And then I remember one of our youth pastors, I don't remember his name actually, but him and his wife, I distinctly remember going on a retreat with them, or like a youth camp, I guess is what it's called when you're a kid. And just being very impressed by them and their relationship. I did meet my now husband in high school, but before him I was too young. I grew up too fast to be so young. And so the boy that I was dating was not good for me. And they were very intentional about loving me in a way that I was able to hear what they had to say. I did not break up with him. I freaking should have, but I didn't. The Lord provided everything I needed, and he made that boy leave me, which was good.
Good.
But yeah, they were really great, and she was so open with us as a group of girls that she was just very real. And so that was really nice to know that I had these people. And we didn't really go to church a lot when I was a kid. We did sometimes, but we weren't very good at it. And we didn't go often. And so the times I did go, they were there. And that is actually how I came to Christ, was those two.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I remember I was 14 when that happened. And I was just in a youth group. I don't remember what he was talking about, but I remember sitting there with him and a group of other youth. So, and that was it. So, yeah.
It's kind of a simple little story, right? Do you find yourself like sharing that part of your story often at all?
The part about when I came to Christ? Sometimes, like if someone asks about it, because I mean it does come up in circles whenever, in faith-based circles, people ask about it. It does come up more often than I guess I would think. Yeah, because it is so simple. There's no fire and lightning and like this big like emotional thing. It was like, this is true, this is right. Okay, let's do it. And yeah, and like I said, we hadn't gone to church a ton, so I didn't know a ton, but I knew enough to know what was true. And I have found journals from when I was about that age, and how serious I got about the Bible. Couldn't remember all the things I wrote down. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm relearning these things as an adult. That's cool. But yeah.
That's awesome. So, kind of still looking over the more early years of your lives, can you remember any of the lies that you might have believed about yourself, or maybe lies that people gave you that you did believe?
Like I said earlier, I was with that. Yeah, I guess he was a boy. We were kids with that boy, and I don't know why I thought that at that moment, I was sure that we were going to stay together, which is crazy. Like, I did find the person I married at 16, but it's not like it's a common thing. And I was like 14 dating this boy, which was dumb. And I was so sure that we were like it. And he was a jerk. And so I thought that that's what I needed, which is ridiculous looking back. And I thought that I didn't think that. I don't know how to say that. I'm not going to say that. Okay. This is being recorded to put out into the world.
Yeah.
So.
No,
yeah.
That is true. That is true.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So then, as you were kind of going about like the beginning of your faith, realistically, like around that middle school, high school area, what were some of the sins that you might have wrestled with in that time frame?
Okay, so definitely like lust, sexual sin. The boy I was with was older than me, too old, in fact, and so that was a problem. Lying because of how old he was. Like, my parents did not know that. He was my friend's brother, and they didn't know him. Well, they didn't know how old he was. So definitely lying, definitely like sexual sin, lusting, like just, I don't know, not in a good place. But after coming to Christ, I like really realized it, and we cut a lot of stuff out, and which was good, but also difficult because I lived in the same place I was at, like did all the same stuff with the same people, but I was trying to be set apart and it was not working out. So, but by the grace of God, he like for real, because I probably would have stayed with him forever. He left. And my current husband was a friend of mine, and he let me just like cry, and then we just hung out. And we ran cross country together and spent a lot of time together. And then I asked him out. And he said yes. And we never broke up after that. And he is a good man. And the Lord gave me him. And his family went to church. And we spent a lot of time with that. So, and we've grown a lot in the Lord together. Oh.
Good. So kind of going back to what you were talking about, like that redemption moment, right, with that youth pastor and his wife. You were kind of talking about how it was really hard to be set apart after you understood forgiveness and you understood, well, this is what is good, this isn't what is good. What did you see change? What were you actively wanting to change in your life because of the gospel?
Well, I didn't want to be living in the sin that I was. Like I said, there was sexual sin, there was lustful stuff, and so I just wanted to stop doing that. But I was the only one that had this encounter with the Lord, right? So that's, makes it hard if I continue to stay with the same person. And let's see. So there was definitely that. That was a big one. And then just being, I was crazy shy. So it wasn't like I had these like other relationships I had to like mend. I feel like that was the big one. I really wanted to be apart from that, and I really struggled with being able to do it until, like I said, by the grace of God, he left. And yeah, I guess I had several friends who were more into like witchcraft. So we, yeah, that's something that you've said that you've been around. Yeah, so, oh my gosh, this is a crazy story of a question you have not asked me, but I'm going to tell you anyway because I feel like you'll like it.
Please do.
I was a kid, and I was probably in middle school, and I'm telling you, I don't know why the Lord loves me so much, but he does, and he has protected me from some people that have been in my life, and they have disappeared. Not in a bad way. They didn't die. They just moved away. And so they may have died. I have no idea after they left. But I was in this girl's yard. I didn't really know her. But she started going to the school, and she invited me to stay at her house. So we went over there, and she was odd. But I was okay with odd. Odd's fine. Everybody else I hung out with was odd. But it was very much into like witchcraft type stuff. Not a Ouija board. We never did that. But we talked about like things, doing all the things that kids do about witchcraft. Not all kids do it, but you know what I mean. The typical stuff. And so we went out in the yard and started doing some sort of, it's dark, it's nighttime, seance-y type stuff. And I vividly remember, and this is going to make me sound crazy, but for real, like dark shadows, and beings being with us. And I wasn't afraid at the moment. I should have been, but I wasn't. I was totally fine. And then I went home the next day. That girl moved away within a couple of days, and I never heard or saw from her again. And I was like, and I didn't realize what had happened until I was much older. right? Like, I was a grown-up when I thought about that memory. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, that would have been a horrible path I would have went down, because I probably would have kept hanging out with her too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, fun little story.
Yeah. No, my brother-in-law, he loves this other podcast that he listens to called The Haunted Cosmos. And it's just a biblical perspective on supernatural things that people just kind of like shrug off and stuff like that.
I need to write that down.
You definitely should. Like, 10 out of 10, I'm not a podcast person. I'm such a hypocrite, actually. I have a hard time listening to podcasts, but I love recording them for some reason. But that was like one of the first podcasts I ever listened to all the way through. And then I immediately texted my brother-in-law. I was like, you should be really proud of me. I actually sat through like an entire episode of this podcast. And he's like, I've never been more proud of you in my life. Good job. Like, please keep that up. And, I haven't ever since then, but like, I still think about it. So I will. You know, it's a time commitment to carve out time for a podcast, because I can't multitask unless I'm driving or something like that. And I don't drive as much as I used to, which I'm not entirely upset about. But kind of going back to the story, and like even kind of like what you were talking about right there, as you kind of had that shift and understanding and in redemption in the age 14 or something like that, how did those immediate years after that, how did you see change? How did you see maybe your desires change? Do you have any memories of like people like, come on, we always used to do this, can we do this now, or anything like that?
I remember my desires changing and wanting to live a different type of life and wanting to live for the Lord. And I really wanted to be like a missionary and go overseas and live in like a tent. I don't know. And I really thought that's where I was going. That didn't work out. I mean, it didn't. That's not what the Lord planned.
Not
At least yet. Who knows? Who knows what he'll do, right? We never know. But I just wanted to be on fire. But I also really remember being fearful when I was young. Because none of my friends or siblings knew the Lord. Like, nobody. I guess that's not true. My husband now did, but we weren't that close. We didn't spend a ton of time together, but all the friends that I had that were girls, where I stayed the night at their houses and did stuff with them, like, the Lord is good to me because he kept me separate from a lot of stuff that they were doing early on, like drugs and just wild life and stuff. And I did some of it, but even though I was with them, somehow they protected me. Like the girls I was with, like, no, this is not a good idea for you, or no, you know, they were all older than me too. Apparently everybody I hung out with is older than me. So several, like 3 or 4 years. And so they just found me, I guess, thought of me as like their little sister, maybe. And so like I got protected from a lot of things that could have happened that didn't, but I was still around, you know. And I remember feeling like I shouldn't be there anymore, but I actually never did anything about it until I was in college. So yeah, I know, like it's not a very dramatic turn. I just knew something was wrong and still didn't do it. A lot of fear. And I had no one really, because I didn't have a lot of discipleship. I didn't really know what I was doing. I read my Bible. I do remember, but I don't really remember it. I found my journals. So,
I know I was doing it.
Yeah, I was doing it. But yeah, a lot of fear. But like, the Lord was definitely there telling me like, this is not a good idea. Like, hey, yo, you should get out of here. I didn't listen.
Yeah, it takes time. You kind of mentioned that college things changed more for you. What did that change look like?
So like I mentioned earlier, I was like crazy shy whenever I was a kid. All of my friends were older than me because they were all my brother's friends first, and he's like 3 years older than me. So figuring that out. But when I got to college, I was like by myself. Like there was no one to help me make friends. And I don't know what happened, but I just decided I wasn't going to be like this anymore. And I wasn't. Like I just started making friends, as awkward as it is to just be like, hey, you would you like to be my friend? That's like basically how I make friends now.
Did it work?
It totally works. I have a lot of friends now. That's right.
Yes.
So, but in college, I just started. I got into I ran cross country, in college, and I got in the FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It was a very small school, so there wasn't very many of us, but there was one professor who was over the FCA, and he was a professor I never actually had, like, as a class. He was some sort of big science thing that I don't remember and I didn't need to take, so I didn't go to his class. But his wife got really involved too, and we actually started doing like a Bible study together. There was a couple of ladies on my cross country team that were strong in their faith, and so we would spend time together. Don't get me wrong, I was still also not living a great life, like, on the other, like, I was kind of doing both at this time, right? I was being discipled. There were people around me that I really knew the Lord, and I wanted to be like them. And then I was also going out clubbing and waking up at 3 a.m. to go running, like, nuts of stuff. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And so I was living kind of both lives at the same time. But that lady really helped, or like whenever I made that switch, or not made that switch, but like was in college, she was a great mentor, and I wish I would have paid more attention and asked her more questions, because it took me even longer after college to really get to a point where I feel like we never arrive, but yeah.
So how did that transition to where you are now, right? Out of college, marriage, mom, Yep. What does that look like? How does it play in?
Okay, let's see. So I graduated from college. I went back home and stayed for 6 months. My husband is in the military. He joined when I was in a junior in college, and he lived in Florida. And I basically told him that I was moving there the next January, even if I had to live in my car. I was very determined. So I worked for 6 months or 8 months to save money, found a roommate on Craigslist. Not a suggestion I would make, but she was great. Like, she totally was great.
You just told me how to make friends. It sounds like you could do it on Craigslist too. So
yeah, well, you can. It does happen. But bad things happen too. So, yes. Like I said, the Lord really loves me, and I'm telling you, like, he does not, like, whatever that, like, I'm afraid this is a bad idea gene is, I don't have it. Like, I don't. Like, this is a great idea. Like, okay. So I moved to Florida, and we got married the next year. He moved in. My roommate moved out. He moved in, and then we were just kind of living life. He didn't go to college. He joined the military, and so all of the first couple of years of the military, I don't know if you know anybody in the military, it's basically like a little frat party. They're by themselves. They have money. They don't have any bills. They do whatever they want. Thankfully, he had me, so he wasn't with a bunch of women. But, all these other people are acting a fool. So we get married, and we're back in this, like, college life type thing. And I got a new job, and the guy who was my boss was also a pastor. And he is the reason, obviously the Lord is the reason, but God put this man in our life to change us completely. There was only 4 people in our office, and once a week, the way that everybody's schedule worked, I worked in a marketing office. I was a graphic designer, and he was the director. And once a week, the way the schedules worked, it was just me and him. And I started bombarding him with questions. I don't know what happened, but I would go to his office and I just asked, like, everything I was thinking about, anything I was reading, I just started asking him. And he was ready for it. We basically didn't work, which is not good, but, like, and I just felt so overwhelmed because I felt like I was not doing what I needed to be doing. And I didn't know how to get to the point where, like, I really did. And at this point, still, I didn't have, if I had any Christian friends, they were not living for the Lord. So there was, like, no one. We were going to church ourselves, like, this big church, so no one really knew us. And I'm not anti-big church, but we weren't doing the work to find people in there. You know, we were showing up and checking the box and getting out. And so, I was overwhelmed, and I needed people who knew more than me, who would be willing to tell me stuff, you know, as I'm reading, like, just asking him bunches of questions, like, what's the fruit of the spirits? Where do I find that? What are the gifts? What do I need to be doing? How do me and Nolan need to be dealing with whatever this is? And he would answer everything. And one day, like I told you, like, I make friends in the most awkward way. I knew he was married, but I didn't know his wife. And so where we were at, I was leaving work. It's by the beach. And I was going over the bridge, and I saw them on the beach. And I thought, I'm going to go talk to her. So I turned around and went back and basically sat down on the beach beside her, just interrupted their family, and started talking to her. And that is how we were friends. And I went and saw her last week. Like, so, like
it worked. It really works.
It does work. It's the best way. You want a friend? That's how. This, yeah. It's worked several times for me, so.
Has it ever not worked? Like, what are the odds?
It's never not worked. Mm-mm.
Wow, you're sharing wisdom I didn't know that I needed to hear today, so thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. I feel like that people appreciate, one or two things will happen. They'll think you're a little too weird, and maybe they'll be friendly, but they won't be your best friend. Or they will like how direct you were. And they were like, I won't have to worry about what you're thinking because you'll tell me. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that in a friendship. Like, if we got a problem, just tell me, man. Like, we'll work it out. Side note. So I just, like, sat down on the beach with her. Like, we became friends. And we laugh about that still. Like, this was, like, 6 years ago. And, so that happened. And then Nolan went out of town because he goes out of town all the time. The military just picks him up and takes him places. And it was a Wednesday, and their church, not the one we went to, was having Bible study. And I asked my boss, hey, would it be weird if I came? He said, no, it's not weird. I'm like, okay. So I showed up. And then we just started doing all these things with the church that wasn't Sunday morning. Like, we would go on Wednesday, we started helping with the youth, we went on trips with them, we did, like, the women's and the men's stuff, like, everything, except for Sunday morning. And then we decided to go try it out on a Sunday, because that would make sense. And we were leaving after the service, and I looked at Nolan and I said, so what do you think? He said, we do everything else with them. We should come on Sundays. And I was like, okay. So
he's not wrong.
He was not wrong. So we did. And me getting, I didn't tell you that. Me getting this job was from the Lord because I was not qualified for it. I went to school for photography. It was a graphic design job. I took some classes, but I didn't really know that much. But I applied, so we'll try it out, you know. All they do is tell you no. I interviewed, and then they told me no, right? So somebody else was offered the job, and he took it. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll find something else. Then they called me less than a week later and said, hey, that guy, he had to move. So we would like you to have it. I'm like, okay.
It's the moving thing again.
It is the moving thing again. And this is just a side note. This has happened to me twice. Like, getting a job I wasn't qualified for, only after they told me I wasn't going to get it. Happened with another job, too. And that was a really good one, too. But that doesn't really play into this story. But like, the Lord can do whatever he wants. Like, somebody telling me no does not scare me. Like,
you'll wait, like, I'll give it a week, see if you move, and then I'll talk to you again.
That's right. So,
man.
So we started going to that church, and it just opened our eyes in such a new way. Like, all of a sudden, we had all of these people who honestly cared about the Lord and wanted to see his kingdom come to Panama City, Florida. It was beautiful and fabulous, and we just got real into it. And I'm like, I really love, which is so crazy, because once upon a time I was insanely shy, and now, I want to do all this outreach stuff. Like, we've got to tell people about this, like what we're doing, who Jesus is, why we got to, we're moving outside of these walls. And so I guess I was excited enough that after a little while, they put me in charge of the outreach. So I started doing like all of our big programs, and also like we did some homeless ministry stuff, and just all of these like random things that I, once again, was not qualified for, but I'm good with Google and I'm willing to do the work. So, and the Lord put me there. So I did. Just open the door and pushes me through, and I'm for it. So, And Nolan was right there. He was doing all of his own stuff. He's more of a behind the scenes kind of guy, but he'll do literally anything you need him to do, and he doesn't want anybody to know that he did it. So, but you ask him, he was for it. He's for you. But so that was glorious, and they are great. They're still alive. They're still well. We just live in a new town. So
how far away are you from them now?
4 hours.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I remember you saying earlier that you moved. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we live in Mississippi now. We live here because of a hurricane. I don't know if I've told you about that.
Why don't you share that story? I think you might have mentioned it to me, but nobody else here listening knows that story.
So we lived in Panama City. Things were going good. My husband is military, but he is in a part that it's called active reserves. So he gets a lot of say about where he lives. So it was unlikely we'd just get picked up and moved away. Not impossible, but unlikely. So we had intentions of staying in Panama City or ever. And the thing was, like, unless the Lord moves us, which he did, we weren't going to move. And so in 2018, in October, Hurricane Michael came through Panama City and took down the base, like, almost completely. We lived about, 8 or 10 miles from the base. Our house was not destroyed. Our house was destroyed. Our stuff was fine, which is weird. Just giant trees landed on it. And it was built in the 30s. It was like a cedar box. So it held up real good. But water got into all of the walls. But we were able to get our stuff out. And because of that, the military evacuated everyone. And we had to be at least 100 miles away. And we lived with my in-laws for several weeks. We lived with a friend for a couple of weeks after that. And then we lived in a hotel for an entire year. And during that year, I started my business, which was cool. And then finally, we moved to Mississippi. Here we are.
So what prompted the move to Mississippi then? Just didn't want to live in a hotel anymore?
Well, there was that, but actually, listen, living in a hotel, it's got some downsides, but it also has some upsides. They cook you breakfast in the morning, and they clean your room. Like, what is not to like about that? And then they always have coffee downstairs. Like, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, but we didn't have kids whenever that happened, so I feel like it would be much different if we had a kid. It was just us and the dogs. So we moved to Mississippi because my husband's boss from Panama City got a new job over there. And so there was an opening, he applied, and he got it. And so that was really nice. Nothing is fast with the military, though. We found out about that job in July, and then we moved here the next February. It took forever. So, yeah.
Ugh.
So here we are. Yeah, it's a lot of hurrying up and waiting. Hurry up, wait. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just gotta be flexible and let it be.
Well, you kind of talked about how you started your business while you were living in the hotel, so that's what you're doing now?
Similar.
Okay.
I feel like everything
What's the story?
Evolution. So I was a graphic designer for a while, and so I was like, well, I feel like I can do this. People freelance design all the time, and so I started trying to do that, finding clients, and it just was not good. I was not good at it. And somehow I stumbled across someone who sold logos on Etsy. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So I started doing some research, and I started making logos on Etsy, like pre-made logos. Like the design is done, you purchase it, tell me your name, I'll put your name in it, and I'll send it back to you. And I did very well doing that. And a lot of real estate agents, a lot of real estate agents. And so I did that, and I was doing well. And I really wanted to do more custom stuff, so I was trying to get into that. It never really took off. I do some here and there, and I really like it, but it's just not a thing that I got a lot of traction on. Then when we moved here, I started volunteering at a soup kitchen. Loved it. Fabulous. Very unstable place, but great. And the manager got fired. And because I was there, they offered me the job. Once again, not qualified for said job, but I said yes. And because I said yes, it took a lot of time away from my business. So it kind of tanked. Then I got pregnant. And then I quit the soup kitchen because I wanted to stay home with him. We still volunteer there once a week. He loves it, runs around, plays with all the people. He's there. Someone told me he was the emotional support baby. And so I'm like, well, that's great. He loves it.
That's adorable.
It's super cute. And so after he was born, I took some time off. And then I got an email from a business coach that I used to have, who she had started an agency, like a creative services agency. And I was like, this is great. I don't have to find clients and they'll pay me money. Like, this is fabulous. So I started working for her. And while I was working for her, I realized I can do this by myself and make so much more money. And so I left. And I did. And I get and now I run my own agency. We're not huge or anything, but we do websites and graphic design and all the creative type marketing stuff. And the Lord is moving me into a new direction. Right when I thought I had this idea figured out.
Sounds about right.
I have this little person now, and I have learned how to manage my life with him. And I've seen this the need of other women who want to be able to do something themselves, like run their own business, but not sacrifice their families on their business. And I know that it's totally capable. It's totally possible. And that they are capable if they are willing to set up the systems and the rhythms to do so. And so that is where we are right now. We are teaching women, mompreneurs is what they call them. And I guess what I call them. I didn't coin the term, obviously, but that's what it is. So they just walking them through these, setting up your priorities, knowing what's important, setting boundaries around those things, and not feeling guilty about it, right? Like, we have to do what the Lord has called us to do. He's given us all the time that we have. He gave it to us to steward well. We are responsible for that time. If we get to decide what we do with it. And just because someone else doesn't like what you have decided does not make it wrong. This idea that we have to be running around and putting our children in every little thing and doing every play date that someone asks you for and make crafts with them 45 times a day. I'm not sure exactly. He's still little, so I haven't done it. But I know enough people who feel overwhelmed by the things that the internet tells you have to do. It just doesn't have to be like that. You can have a peaceful, calm life that is God honoring for you, You can honor the Lord through raising your kids and through the people that you serve in your business. Now, I know that's possible. And so I want people to know that that's possible and show them how to do that. That's where we are.
Did you have that like natural inclination of like when you got to a certain point, you're like, man, I need to share this with other people. Like this can't just be for me, right?
Well, it kind of happened organically. Like I have like there's just like circles of people in my life that are living this out, and I would just learn things like and figure stuff out for myself, and then I would just tell the other people in my life, like, let's walk through this, let's figure out how this will work for you. And just talking to them, I just started doing it without realizing I was doing it. And then I hired a business coach, Jeremy, which the Lord gave me. I literally prayed that the Lord would send me the person that I needed to move my business forward, and somehow Jeremy wound up in my inbox. Not entirely sure how that happened, but he was there. And just in doing the mission statement 1 week, the first week with him, I realized that it was more than just helping busy business owners with their marketing. And I was like, well, that's new. Like, okay. But I do feel like the Lord is leading me into a place where I will be doing more talking. And I really don't like to say, like, you know, the Lord told me or the Lord showed me. Because I'm afraid that I'm wrong. Because, you know, our hearts are evil. And there's no, you know, it's hard to see. But I truly believe that he told me several years ago that I will be on stages. Which is like a weird thing that I feel like for this like really shy girl to wind up being. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it's about this or if it'll be when I'm like 60 talking about something else. But that's where we're headed. But I don't know the steps before that. And I'm trying not to worry about them because it's easy to worry about them.
Oh, very.
So we're just waiting on the Lord, and he did put me on a stage. He has a couple of times. They were smaller. But I remember walking I was sitting at a conference, and the Lord said to me, "That's going to be you," talking about the girl speaking. And I was like, "Nah, man. Okay, sure." And then later I was praying about it, and I said, "Lord, I will walk through any door you open." Not 2 weeks later, this woman asked me to be a speaker at a conference. And I was like, all right. I said I would. That was in the interim. Whenever I lived in the hotel, we went to this random church for a little bit. And they had a women's retreat. So I did that. And that's what I told him. Like, crazy. Lord, if you open the door, I'll go. Lord, open the door, I'll go. And hopefully I will do it whenever the time comes. I've also prayed for him to just knock me through it. Like, listen, I need not choices.
Don't give me a choice.
No, yes. I'm hard-headed. And, yeah. I talk a big game, but I'm actually afraid.
That's awesome. Well, I have a question. It's completely off topic of everything we've talked about so far, but are you more a book person or a movie person?
Can I give a third option?
Maybe.
I would say that I'm more of a podcast person.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Okay. But of the two, probably, because I don't do either, really. I guess movies.
Okay.
I really want to be a reader, but I'm really not. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Does that count?
Okay. Yes, we can work with that. Okay. So, if there was an audiobook created about your life, what would it be called?
Oh, no. I feel like I should have gotten this question earlier.
Nope, that's the point. It's supposed to be whatever comes to your mind as soon as I ask the question.
The awkward one that the Lord loves.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good. Write that down. You know, you're going to be writing a book one day.
Yeah, maybe not that, but yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
That's awesome. So then what would you say if you were talking to somebody who was intimidated or scared in telling their story? How would you encourage them?
I would say that it's only really scary at first. Like, it's scary every time, but it gets less scary. So it won't ever get easier until you just start doing it. And if that means you have to start doing it with one person before you tell it lots of people, then just do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it scared.
Why? Why do it scared?
Well, if you this person who wants encouragement, they obviously know that it's important. If you think that telling your story is important and not doing something you're supposed to be doing, that is a sin. So if you know you're supposed to be telling your story, do it because the Lord told you to.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I can think of different people that I've talked to in my lifetime where if they were asked to like share their testimony or something, they just like quickly just shake their head like, no, I don't have a story that's worth telling. I'm too intimidated to get up in front of people, whatever the excuse might be. But like at the end of the day, if they still push through and they do it, they never regret it, even if they were stumbling over their words the entire time. Because realistically, I had an interview just the other day with someone, and they said that they signed the rights of their story over to God. Like, it's God's story. It's not ours. Like, we are a steward of the story that God writes for us. So, like, we are the character, sure, but it's not even that we're the hero in the story. We are a very crappy character in the story. And so, as we are telling the story, we are just, if we're doing it right and we're doing it with the right heart posture, we're doing it as an act of worship. We don't walk away, even if it's on a stage or if it's on a podcast or in a video. Like, if we're
Sorry, that's my dog.
That was extremely intimidating. Oh my goodness.
That's why we have really big dogs, because they're scary. And my husband leaves a lot. So.
Understood. Whew. I thought I just heard that like just out of the walls, and I was like, whoa.
No.
Whew. Okay, good. But yeah, no, that finishes that thought a lot faster than I thought I was going to finish
sorry,
it. It's totally fine. But yeah, no, that's really awesome. And as we're kind of like winding down the end of the podcast, one of my last questions I typically ask is there anything else that you sense the Holy Spirit wants you to share for the sake of anybody else who would hear this podcast?
No.
All right.
Okay.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
That is totally good. Well, I typically end with a high five as well. So when I started this podcast, I was doing it typically in person, but now that I've switched to online, we'll just count down from a number between 1 and 10, and then we'll high five the camera. You don't need to hit it if you don't want to, but just make it look like you're high fiving.
I can do that.
Pick a number between 1 and 10.
4.
4. All right, so we'll count down from 4. Ready? 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's Infinite Story. If it resonated with you, send it to someone you think would be blessed by it. If you would like to share your story, please reach out to us at infiniteideas.studio. You never know how far the impact of your story can reach. Take care now.